So first we started out by laying these 4x4s in their approximate location. We've planned out the duck coop at 6 feet wide and 16 feet long, 10 feet of which is going to be the run, and 6 feet for the coop. We also checked to see how level the area was as we set up. I figured we'd be starting from a pretty good place since this area was originally intended for our house. After measuring and marking, I fired up the circular saw and set to work cutting the posts to length and cutting the lap joinery. So that's the top profile of the lap joint we're cutting.
Yeah. Oh, wait, like that?
It even has a special little mark for you.
Oh, right there.
Yep, and you line that up and you just draw a straight line.
No stinking way! Right. Oh, look at that. That is cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
In case you were questioning the professionalism of this operation, I'll have you know we did have an excellent supervisor on site. So this is how these lap over.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, nice.
Just like so. I fastened each of the lap joints together with exterior screws, a few lag screws, and Titebond 3 wood glue. Figured that would make for a pretty strong connection. I also used this Forstner bit to countersink the heads of the lag screws so they wouldn't get in the way on the tops of the walls where the rafters would be connected. Then we stood up the walls, set each post in its proper place, and braced them. Unlike chickens, ducks don't like to roost up high, so I figured we'd best make use of the headroom and build a small loft for storage above the main coop. This way the volume of the duck coop is reduced and they will have a smaller total area to try to warm with their body heat on cold winter nights. So I set to work notching the vertical posts for the 2x4s that would make up the perimeter of the floor of the storage loft. I don't love the idea of notching a 4x4 post in most cases, since they aren't very thick to begin with, so I made sure to make the fit of the 2x4s nice and tight. As a first order of business today, I set to work leveling the entire structure before I made it any heavier. The dirt around here is super rocky, so it made for a great filler along the edge. I also wedged in larger rocks as shims in various places. Then I set to work mapping out a rafter template. I chose the 6-foot width for the duck coop so I could use just a normal 8-foot 2x4 as a rafter across the span. After making the pattern fit just right, Wifey and I set to work marking, cutting, and setting each of them.
How about I bring them over to you and you put them on? All right.
Lincoln's a good boy.
We also cut some angle bracing and set it in place to provide the whole structure with much more lateral strength, as well as adding a couple 2x4s to the run. These will make fastening the hardware cloth much easier later, and they also add some strength to the beam bearing the weight of the roof and the snow that will someday be on it. Next, I ripped down some 2x4s for bird blocking to go in between each of the rafters. Somehow I thought it was a good idea to let Hannah run the saw while I set them in place. Don't ask me why. Then I set to work strapping the roof. I had to make sure to get the layout just right so it would line up with the screw holes on the old metal I salvaged from our house when we built an addition last year. That's also where I got the old pine siding from.
Good.
This nibbler made quick work of the 12-foot sheets as I cut them down to proper length. My family was down for a visit, and Dad was kind enough to help me set the sheets. The next day I spent a good part of the morning ripping down the old siding. It was originally tongue and groove, but because of the damage it sustained during removal, we figured a simple board and batten approach would work well for the coop. Then I set to work, getting the OSB measured and cut for the floor of the loft. I had to notch each corner with the jigsaw so they would clear the vertical posts. As you can see, my girl was as helpful as ever in setting the floor.
Don't put that on.
No one can drive screws like she can.
Oh, isn't it growing in here? There.
Thankfully, the supervisor woke up just in time from her nap to certify that the floor was up to her standards.
Oh my goodness.
You guys are cute.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
We love you.
New spot of focus.
Next, I set out prepping the coop for siding, adding strapping to a few places to ensure that the siding had somewhere to be fastened to up in the rafters and across the span between the two floors. Next, I started work building a nesting box and watering station that would have exterior access on the coop. My hope is to insulate the watering station such that it can resist freezing pretty well in the winter. And I'm also hoping the ducks will actually lay in the nesting box. Otherwise, it'll be a little bit interesting logistically to try to get their eggs from inside such a low coop.
Are you videoing the rain?
I was actually trying to capture the sound, but someone was having a good time.
I'll be quiet. Are you videoing me now?
Hey.
Hi.
Before I could put siding on the backside, I had to make sure that the duck door was ready to go. After that, when it was time to install the siding, I used a 15-gauge nailer with exterior-grade galvanized finish nails. Meanwhile, Hannah cut each new piece to length as I gave her the measurements. I do know how to use a nailer. I promise. For this type of siding application, I like to measure to the center of where you're going to install it and then work out from there. That way there's no break in the symmetry when you reach the two ends. I was starting to run out of old siding by this point, so we decided to allow for some random widths and thinner pieces on the back of the coop.
It is 89. I'm winning.
And that's a wrap for part 1 of the duck coop build. We hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to let us know if you have any questions or criticisms in the comments, and thanks for watching.
Coming up next time.
Finish pack.